It's obvious that democratic government is breaking down wherever you look. The black oil is spilling to the Gulf, poisoning our environment. As Americans are overtaxed, they're losing their homes. Millions of kids go to bed every night in this country hungry. Wherever you look, I'm saying, we live in a surveillance state. 40,000 SWAT team raids happen across the country each year, with many of them at wrong addresses. Americans are terrorized. It's obvious that something's up. And what I think it is, our government has gotten so large that it really can't function anymore in terms of how citizens approach it. I mean, be honest with yourself. How many people watching this particular podcast actually believe that you can impact what's going on in Washington, D.C.? Very, very difficult unless you're part of a large lobbying group. As an individual, and again, that's the Constitution's based on that. We, the people, as individuals, we should be able to impact our government. Basically, that's not true anymore. And I think what's happened to us is that we've forgotten our history. We don't know our rights. We've not been involved. We don't go down to City Hall anymore. We don't carry picket signs. We've forgotten all the great lessons taught to us by the people who started this country, from Thomas Jefferson on. One of the most important people in history that we've lost, and many people don't talk about him, and most Americans have never read his famous Civil Disobedience essay, which is easy to get online, by the way. You can go online and read it. It's short. One of the most influential essays of all time, Henry David Thoreau. Now, he wrote an essay. It was originally a speech, published it. It didn't even get out into the mainstream public until 30 or 40 years after his death. Tolstoy read it. Then Gandhi read Tolstoy. Then he read Thoreau. Martin Luther King read Thoreau. All the great dissenters that we know of that had all this social impact came from basically one person, Henry David Thoreau, and his writings. But Thoreau was much more than that. Why he wrote his famous essay on civil disobedience is he wasn't paying the war tax for a foreign war that was being fought in Mexico during his time. He didn't agree with it. He thought it was wrong. It was a war of intervention. He disagreed with it. He wouldn't pay his tax. Well, he was sent to jail for not paying his tax. He actually went to jail for not paying his tax. And in a commentary I wrote, which is entitled, "Be a Counter-Friction to Stop the Government," and that's Thoreau's quote. He said, we all need to be counter-friction components to stop the machine, the government machine. You can read my commentary by going online at www.rutherford.org, which gives a more detailed description of Thoreau and his writings and what he thought. But Thoreau was a great independent thinker who said basically, whatever I do at any point in time is what I think is the right thing to do. And he told people who work for the government, he says, I have no problem a lot of times with the government, but I have a problem with you, the tax collector. You should resign your job if you think what you're doing is wrong. Thoreau argued for a peaceful revolution, one where the individual citizens would stand up and be their own government. And he basically said the best form of government is the government doesn't govern at all. And how does that happen? With individual Americans governing themselves. But we don't do that anymore. So that's why it's important to read people like Henry David Thoreau, and why when his birthday rolls around we should be thinking about people like that, because they changed the course of history by committing acts of civil disobedience. And I would say he's the father of civil disobedience because of all the people he affected, from Gandhi to Martin Luther King, and to people who still read him today and are greatly inspired by Henry David Thoreau. So, we need to remember our history. We need to learn our rights. And if the schools are not going to do it, our government's not going to do it, teach your children in their home what their rights are and their history. You can do it. There are books, there's pamphlets from the Rutherford Institute, pamphlets that I will send people free if you ask for it, so you'll know your rights and stand up for your government, because the time grows very short. As you can see around us, democratic government is breaking down. The only thing that can stop it is you.